of my friends is Chris Carter, who's the producer and the writer, the screenwriter of the X-Files.
Yeah, I know who he is. Yeah.
Yeah. And we were having dinner a while back. I was telling him about my book and routines, and I was talking about inspiration and artists and what inspired you to, write this alien invasion, series that was so popular in the story about writing. And he was telling me that, and maybe this is more true to writers. I'm good at writing a good letter. I could write a good letter, but still I'm trying to determine how to, how do you become a really good writer? And that to me is just a different journey right now in learning that part. But he told me that he would teach at Pepperdine University, and the students would all think that, artistic creation came out of kind of the spontaneous thought that came to your mind that allowed you to be creative, and he said, I told him the pooey of that, and that they have to have regularity and routine, and they have to work at it, and that it's not just like suddenly a great idea that comes to your mind. And, when you look at other artists like, Andy Warhol, or you look at people like Einstein in the realm of, intellectual and creative, really, theoretical physics, you find that, be it whoever it might be, that they have a lot of rhythm, regularity, routine, and fairly stable environment when they have created what they create. And
Yeah, I mean, Warhol was incredibly routine.
Yes.
I just interviewed somebody who does a YouTube channel called Great Art Explained in 15 Minutes. And I didn't realize that Warhol went to mass every Sunday, and volunteered at the soup kitchen on a regular basis. I mean, all these things that were not part of the version of Warhol New York ever talks about.
Right.
And,
right. Yeah.
This is sort of why, I think that you're good for this podcast, is because there's a lot of people who listen to it who do struggle with productivity, who struggle with getting things done. They want the art life, but they don't know how to get it. And I think routine might be a key for some of these people unlocking that, because the happiest creators I know have a routine of some sort. Whether it's waking up in the morning and sending out query letters or what have you. It's different for every person, as you say. And even if they haven't quite found the success they're looking for yet, they're happy and they feel like they're doing something with their lives just by simply having this checklist to do every single day.
No, right. And I think that what I've tried to do when I realize this is that I've tried to connect this to understanding that that's how our bodies work. That's the world we live in. It's trying to say to someone, okay, then you're right. I do go to the bathroom at a certain time of the day. I do sleep at a certain time. There are circadian rhythms that allow you to be better at different times of the day, to do cognitive work. People say, well, I was listening a little bit to, I started to view the Hemingway series, I think on PBS, that just got put out on by Kim Burns. And Hemingway ended up being a pretty good father at one point in his life, and one of his children, one of his marriages, because the way his son said that he was actually in the end a good father, because in the end I was thinking he was like a stockbroker, because what would happen is that he would take the morning time and where it was quiet, and he could start early and he could write, and that is a very good cognitive time, to do work, right? And so by midday or so he was available for his family, right? Kind of like a stockbroker, at least here on the West Coast, gets up pretty early, right, and ends their work at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. So I think that this is part of our nature, to find that stable point, and when we do things in a routine that help us perform and better. you notice he wasn't doing it at 3 o'clock, and at 3 o'clock, our cortisol levels drop. I can give you a bunch of the science behind it, but there's a reason that the English have tea at 3 o'clock, and there's a reason why at least in traditional Spanish cultures, they go to take a siesta and go to sleep. And then you could argue the French and Italians have sex. And it's not a particularly great focused cognitive time. In America, they go to Starbucks, right? I guess in New York, there's a Starbucks in every corner, though I saw that Starbucks was starting to cut back on a Starbucks in every corner.
It was interesting you're saying all this because I was literally just talking to my girlfriend an hour before we started this. And she was like, why is this at 3? You never have them at 3. And I realized that I usually go between 12 and 2 for that reason, because my neurons are firing.
Correct. This is a good engagement time. Yeah. So when you look, and this is in general, because there are people when you look at the circadian rhythms of sleep and what happens to, cortisol and what's happening in your brain, that's what I'm trying to let people understand that if you really start thinking about that we're much more routine, our bodies have routine and regularity and rhythm.
Totally.
And the world we perceive has that. And then when we're best to work and do things. So yes, from 10 to, I did a little show on recruiting, because we used to do staffing, recruiting doctors and the sort, and they were asking me when, so I said, well, after you've done your spreadsheets and done all your technical work in the morning, from 10 to about 2 o'clock is a good time to engage with people. It's a good engagement time. And there's a lot of science and studies behind that. But by the time it becomes 3 o'clock, you've come to a low point. And I had a fellow in banking that asked me, he said, I have these 3 o'clock meetings in my corporation, in our corp. And I have this meeting and I can't get anybody to pay attention. Nobody comes up, I said, it's not a good time to go give people your spreadsheets and your profit and loss statements and go over technical stuff at 3 o'clock. And even in when I was operating our physician staffing companies, I would use that time for innovation, time to get a little bit of food. I didn't encourage them to go to sleep at the time or have sex, but that's what the hypothalamus in your brain is telling you to do at that time. And we would have more innovative discussions at that time until you get closer to 4 or 5 o'clock, where things again begin to change and become a really good times to do a number of things. So there's a little bit of, it's not a perfect science, but it's been pretty well proven. So